Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Redford, and this is the follow-up. Coming up on tonight's show, on an average night at the Rescue Ministries in mid-Michigan, 240 people walk through their doors with no place to call home. For many, they are experiencing homelessness for the first time, and the need to serve these people is greater than ever. Tonight, 3 people who work in the front lines of this impactful and life-saving mission and ministry are with us tonight to not only share the stories about the people they serve and the circumstances surrounding homelessness, but how you can help change their lives. But first, we would like to hear from you to help drive the conversation here on the follow-up. You can do that in a variety of ways via social media on Facebook. You can dial into our follow-up hotline to voice your opinion or suggest future show topics. You can also comment through YouTube. And if you'd like to watch any of our past shows, you can log on to deltapublicmedia.org. Now for tonight's show, as I said, we have 3 people from the Rescue Ministries in mid-Michigan with us. Dan Streeter, the kind of runs the show, right? CEO, president,
something
all
like
of
that.
And we have Tanya Oberlin over here, and she is the chief administrator of the Samaritan Youth Services with the ministry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have Kim Ancel, director of development, also with Impact Designs, right?
Correct.
So you guys wear a lot of hats. So Dan, I guess I'll start with you. And for viewers not aware, the Rescue Ministries in mid-Michigan includes both the City Rescue Mission in Saginaw and the Good Samaritan Rescue Mission in Bay City. So we'll be talking about both missions today. How long has it been since they've been together?
So originally City Rescue Mission was founded in 1905, doing an amazing work for all these years. And it's part of the reason why I'm excited about being involved in the legacy of care that we've been able to do. And then in 2005, it was identified that there was a huge problem of homelessness in Bay County, and so that's what birthed the need for Good Samaritan Rescue Mission in Bay City. Last night, 99 people stayed there. So it's just a critical need within our region to help provide care.
So in recent months, a lot of COVID-era benefits have ended. No more government stimulus checks. Enhanced child tax credits are gone. Expanded unemployment benefits are gone. Extra food assistance under the SNAP program are gone, and families on Medicaid have had to reapply for funding. So with all that out there, has that driven more folks, more new faces into the work that you do?
So the reality is that, and you've probably heard a lot about the ALICE population, those that are asset limited and that are struggling. So we were already ramping up to a lot of issues about poverty and people struggling before the pandemic hit. And so I think a lot of times we forget about that and we want to try to put some of the excuse on the pandemic. Our region and the state of Michigan have a lot of individuals who are struggling day to day in poverty, near poverty, and potentially with homelessness. The pandemic hits, that put a little bit of a pause to it because people got all these financial benefits. It kept them from being evicted. And so it was kind of superficially paused for a little bit. Our shelter stays and people in shelter diminished just a little bit during that time. Now that we've come out of the pandemic and now starting to get back to some normalcy, everything is back blossoming. But probably the worst part about it is that people got used to having the assistance. So now we're having to also break that cycle.
Right.
So there was that poverty and that on top of it.
So we have some sobering statistics on homelessness. So Bob, back in our back room, why don't you throw that graphic up, and there's some of it right there. Those are the numbers. 582,000 plus people. This is statewide. We're experiencing, around the country, experiencing homelessness across America. Amounts to roughly 18 out of every 10,000 people. And 72% were individual adults, but 28% were living in families. I think we got one more there, Bob, don't we there? Yeah, so there's 8,000 plus people in Michigan experienced homelessness on a given night in 2022, and that included Detroit, Kalamazoo, Lansing, Saginaw, Battle Creek, and Lenawee County, which is sort of the Ann Arbor, seeing the highest numbers. So those numbers don't surprise you, right? I mean,
No, not at all. In fact, probably in this immediate region, about 4,500 people experience homelessness through the course of the year. Through the state of Michigan, somewhere around 60 to 65,000 people experiencing homelessness. To me, one of the most staggering things, and that just continues to exemplify how many people are living on the edge, is that about 51% of those that come through our doors in the shelter are experiencing homelessness for the first time in their life. We're doing a lot of really positive things, getting people connected to resources, and we only see about 5% recidivism rate. But there's so many new people that are right on the edge that need the help day in, day out.
Well, and you're doing a lot of that. So you mentioned the new faces. So what is the percentage of sort of people who you serve that are dealing with sort of mental health issues, substance abuse? Opioid deaths are just unbelievable, largely from fentanyl, the synthetic form of that, claiming about 100,000 lives a year. So what's the percentage of people you're seeing that have those issues?
Yeah, so about 44% of those that come through the shelter are having some type of a disability. And in put it in perspective to the general population, only about 14% of the general population are experiencing a disability. We're seeing mental illness is probably one of the biggest spikes in those that we're having to serve. About 35% are experiencing some form of mental illness, and a lot of times there's double issues. Mental illness along with substance abuse, they're self-medicating, mental illness and another disability. And so people are coming with a myriad of issues, which is really why we need to work for long-term meaningful solutions. We realize we're not the sole solution, but we're networking with other service providers and getting our guests access and dealing and talking with them to help put a stable base so that they don't have to ever experience homelessness again.
Good. All right, your turn. You ready?
Yes.
Tanya, I'm going to start with you here. You're the Chief Administrator of the Samaritan Youth Services. So tell us about this program, who you're serving and what's the need.
Okay, so Samaritan Youth Services basically has 3 different programs that are underneath. The emergency shelter has been open for 3 years. That serves youth without parents. So they're minors with no any adult with them. So that is age 12 to 17. And they can stay in shelter for 21 days. So during that time, we talk about school, maintaining that, or even getting them back in school. Education is important for them to progress. We also work on life skills and connecting them with any resources such as counseling services, rehab, any other extra services that they may need. And then we also work on reunification. So our hope is always that they can go back home and we can make a smooth transition back home. So another service that we're offering is Labadee Lofts, which is actually apartments. So those are kids age 18 through 21. And those kids usually have either aged out of foster care or have experienced some sort of homelessness. So those kids will come to us and just be looking for a little bit of independence, having their own apartment, but certainly we still meet with them regularly and give them just a little bit of extra support. And then what we're hoping to have open here in the next month is a longer term program, transitional living. So this will be for 16 and 17-year-olds, and they will be able to stay with us for up to 2 years. So some kids, those minors, just see their home life isn't quite settled, or for whatever reason, going back home isn't ideal. So they could stay with us, with parent permission for up to 2 years. And so that will give them a little bit more of a long-term support that's stable with us.
So how long has this program been in place, and what was happening sort of behind the scenes that led up to saying this is something we need to provide?
The transitional living?
Well, all of it,
Okay.
really. The emergency shelter for the teens as well. Yeah.
So the emergency shelter has been 3 years, and that's just recognizing the need. With youth, they're either runaway or homeless. Some come from, for whatever reason, maybe home isn't quite stable. Some just are having conflict in the house, and so there was just a high need for that. The lofts, the apartments, were obviously kids. There's a lot of kids in foster care, and once they turn 18, then their support services are just shut down. So a lot of kids are looking for support and just some guidance that they maybe didn't get. So, and then the transitional living, we after having emergency shelter for 3 years, you learn a lot and you have a lot of experiences, and so we're finding that there's a lot of kids that 21 days just doesn't cut it. A lot of kids don't want to go back home. It's not stable. Some parents just aren't in a position to have all that extra responsibility. So instead of just removing kids from home, this would give them a longer term placement where we would still, have contact with families and be able to work on things, but it just gives them a little bit of stability that would last a lot longer than the 21 days.
So how do the kids come to you, and do they have similar issues? I mean, can you have an example of some kids' issues that they're going through which led them to come to you?
So our kids can come to us any number of ways. So sometimes we'll just have kids that just have ran away, right? They are in a conflict at home, and so they'll just leave. And so they'll just come in that way. Sometimes schools will call us saying, hey, there's this kid that's just been couch hopping. Do you have a bed? We also have the police will sometimes, if there's domestic at home, for whatever reason, and the police are involved, then they'll bring the kid in just to get them separated, so that way, everyone can cool down. So they'll come to us any sort of way. And the hope then is that we can kind of sort through what's going on, and then allow them some time to think through, like, what can I work on as the youth, and how can we make this a positive transition back home.
So if you're a viewer sitting home listening to this heartbreaking stories with these young kids that need emergency shelter, all the issues that are happening, what can they do? Can they provide monetary support? Can they be a mentor? Can they be a tutor? Can they help drive kids to school? I mean, what are some of the major needs that they need, or there's specific items that they might need? Why don't you run through some of that?
So we can never have enough hoodies, of
Okay.
course, for kids. They love that. So clothes is always, a lot of our kids will come in with very minimal things. So clothes, tennis shoes, especially boys' clothes. And then also, I would say if anyone likes to tutor, since education, a lot of our kids come in and have missed over half the year, just a lot of truancy. So we work with our kids really hard to get them caught back up, and just see the value in education and where it can take them just to get through high school even. And so of course I have great staff that helps with that and makes all those things happen, but tutoring is always, somebody does math, I'm not a math expert. So there's always value in that, and just seeing different faces come in just to show that they care is huge to those kids. They don't have a lot of stability and consistent people saying, hey, we can do this together.
Right, okay. We'll leave it at that for the moment. And all of the information to contact you is on your website, which we'll run your website from time to time so the viewers can see that. Kim, let's go to you. You do development there?
Yes.
So you raise awareness, raise funds. You're also part of the Impact Designs program.
Right.
So maybe I'll start with the development side of things.
Okay.
Kind of segue on what Tanya had to say. So what are your biggest needs right now? And I know this time of year is really when you're hitting it hard, right?
Yeah, of course, we can always use financial support. But in addition, you've heard this, the saying, it takes a village. Well, it takes a village to help almost 2,000 individuals a year who come through our doors. And our staff, they're limited in their time and their ability to work with that large of a group. So anytime we can have a volunteer that comes in and stands beside them and wants to impact a life, then that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I just got your mailing at my home, which is good, and I can say, hey, I support it because I know the important work that you do. Do you package that in some way, right? There's different ways we can do meals, we can help with housing, we can be a sustainable donor as well. So
if you want to help, we've got a way that you can help. So
right.
Whether it's at the website, you can see some of the different, we have updated needs list that happens all the time. The biggest thing I'd say, and it always amazes me to this day, how many people give to the ministry but have never walked through the doors to see the impact of their dollars. And so if you're even on an inkling of thinking of wanting to do something, we'd love for you to come firsthand, do a tour, and you're going to be amazed at what will gravitate and speak to you. And for every person, it's a little bit different. Some people want to serve a meal, some people want to help with impact design, some people want to help with the youth. We got a ton of things that could be done.
right, a litany of things to do. Okay, impact design. Talk to us about that.
Well, after a guest has completed their case management plan, they've gone out and done the hard work of finding a apartment for them to move themselves or a family into. they're connected with Impact Designs. And Impact Designs takes all of the donated household items that come through our doors, and they set up a home for a guest who's moving in. And it's taking that empty house and making it a home. Our saying is we're helping home happen. And so we have volunteer designers who will sit down, talk one-on-one with the guests, ask them questions like, what are your favorite colors? What do you collect? What things do you enjoy doing? And then a question that always gets me is, what does home mean to you? And they take all that information that they've gleaned during that half-hour interview, and the guest turns over their keys, and they go to work, and we get an army of volunteers on move-in day who come in, and they set up that apartment with all the things that the designers have pulled. They set up that into a beautiful home, and then we bring the guest in, and it's like the extreme makeover. They get to see it for the first time. And their responses to it is just, I have yet to not cry during one of our reveals.
So prior to Impact Design, how did you deal with it? If you had a single mom with a couple of kids and they were displaced, they needed a new start, a new apartment, they walked into an empty apartment and maybe didn't have a place to put some of the furniture, right?
Yeah. Previously, they've done everything they can, usually just to come up with the first month's rent and a deposit. And they would walk into an empty house, which is so discouraging. You're a mom now we're putting my kids on a blanket on the floor. Mm-hmm. We're at the Mission. They had a nice warm bed. They had safety and security, and that's all gone. And mom just got so discouraged. Even single people would get just so discouraged. And then our recidivism rate was at that time 50%. Would come back and to the Mission, and we'd have to start the whole process over, just helping them through all those same issues that we just went under with the case management.
So as the viewers are listening, kind of what I asked Tanya, what are your needs for Impact Design? I've got furniture, but you don't need every piece of furniture. There are specific probably needs that you have. So tell us kind of what your needs are, and how do I get them there?
We have a donation center that's located behind the main building at 1021 Burt Street in Saginaw. It's open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and occasional Saturdays, like we will be open this Saturday from 8 to 4, if anybody wants to drop off some household items then. A lot of times we are in need of twin beds because we have moms who might have 3 or 4 kids, and so each child needs a twin bed. And so we're always looking for twin beds, twin mattresses of all kinds, full, queen. If you got a married couple, you need the queen. Small dining room tables. Usually our apartments that our guests are renting are smaller, and so just a nice small, and especially like for single guys, they're moving in a lot of times into efficiency apartments, so the smaller ones. Any kind of bedding, household item, look in your kitchen, anything you can see that you use on a daily basis, we'll take any of those things, because we moved almost 100 people so far this year. Or not this year, in the 3 years we've had it, excuse me. In the 3 years we've been open, we've moved almost 100 people. So that's 30 a year. And so we'll go through a lot of bedding, a lot of household items in that 3.
Right, and talking to all of you, I mean, we're talking about homelessness, we're talking about emergency shelter, the Labadee lofts, we're talking about outfitting people with furniture who've been displaced. So what, are we making headway at affordable housing? Where are we with that?
Yeah, so affordable housing, we've become more and more aware of just how bad the issue is, and it's a nationwide issue. That's why you're going to see so many more, HUD dollars and NISHDA dollars and are becoming available, because this is really a national crisis. And when you take a look at it, there's landlords who are taking advantage of people, and elevated rates and what they can't afford into just deplorable accommodations. And so we're rolling up our sleeves, not only with Impact Designs, but then also looking for ways that we can try to help create affordable housing opportunities for people, and advocating, and then also looking to try to create some properties that way too.
So how do we define affordable housing? Kim, when we talked before the show, you said, yeah, there's housing out there, but we need quality housing. You sort of touched on it. So what have you seen that, boy, it's just not a livable thing that they say, hey, you can move in here, but that's not right?
Yeah, well, fortunately, we have a housing specialist who helps guide some of our guests into making, a good decision. But there have been times when I've, walked in to an apartment and, once they sign the lease, we're pretty well committed to moving forward. But sometimes they're pretty sad, and it's kind of tugs at your heart to think that, we have a mom who has a baby in a carrier who has to walk a steep flight of stairs to get to the top.
Sure.
And it's just, sometimes it's not the best, but our designers are so amazing that they can make that that house that's not quite that great look like $1 million
Right.
when they're done.
So you think about all the families, maybe single moms, maybe individuals that you dealt with, it almost bring you to tears, when you're able to make their life better. Do you have a story of maybe one or two that you've dealt with?
A couple of them, I think Courtney is one of those who kind of sticks out. Courtney had some mental health issues that she wasn't dealing with. Her parents had been frustrated, and Courtney had decided that she was just leaving, and spent some time living in her car. But she came to the mission, and we were able to get her connected with mental health and get her on the right road. When she sat down with our designers and they asked her what she wanted her home to look like, she said, I want it to look like Grandma's house.
Wow.
Because she had such fond memories of what Grandma house looked like.
Sure.
And one of the things they always ask the guest is, if there's one special thing that we could put in this house, what would you like? And Courtney's response was a cat. And so we were able to, we don't do this for everyone, but we were able to contact the local animal rescue, and one of the last things they brought out when Courtney went to look at her house was the cat.
Why?
And she needed that because she needed something to love.
Sure.
And something to take care of, and something that she knew that she had to stay on the right track, because like she told us a couple days ago, I knew that cat needed me.
Right.
And so she said, so I knew I had to stay on the right track to keep myself together.
That's awesome. And Courtney's doing well. We're happy for that. Tanya, the same question. Do you have someone that, a teen that you sort of helped and said, this is what they were like when I met him or met her, this is how we helped, and they're kind of on the right track now?
Mm-hmm. So I can actually think of a lot. One student, she was over half the year, hundreds and hundreds of homework, missing assignments, wasn't going to pass, and we only had her for 21 days, and she excelled. We got her into mental health, and she even was able to graduate on time, so that was super exciting. Sometimes it's like to say, homework, they were behind on homework, it seems like something small, but she worked so hard, and that was a huge victory for her. So I think that those little things that those kids, once they experience success, then they want to continue. And I think that we get to, even if it's just for 21 days, we get to help them experience that. And it just, it plants enough in them, to have that hope and that excitement to keep striving for better.
Yeah, because it's a two-way street, right? I'm guessing you have a few teens that are brought there maybe because of law enforcement, so this is where you have to go. They don't want to be there. They may not want to participate, but they almost have. So how do you work through a situation like that?
So we just talk through it, right? How can we make this, to benefit everyone? So I would say we do have a lot of kids come in angry and upset just at everybody. And we have excellent staff that just talk through like, hey, we want to be here, and we want to be here for you. And just talking to those kids and just seeing where they've come from and what they've been through. I might be angry too, but just pouring into them and just them seeing their value and how they can be successful. It changes a lot. And I would say all our kids just have been phenomenal kids. They just have to see their own potential.
Good, and you're helping with that.
And I'd say,
Go ahead.
along with that as well, I think the biggest issue is people realizing that somebody cares. And that starts to de-escalate a lot. And that's what I think all of our staff, doesn't matter where you come in, it's about demonstrating that care, and then you start to see hope happen, and that's what starts to turn things around.
You're transforming entire lives. I mean, if you're helping a kid who's not home anymore and they grow through that experience and they get, hopefully, you said reunification is your big issue. So have you seen some good positive reunification where the whole family sort of changed and learned some things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes there's just conflict in the home, and for whatever reason they don't know how to work through it. And so we do case management with families coming in and talk about, okay, what's the expectation on both ends, and they're able to work through, you know, some of that. And kids will go home, and it's great when they call back and just say, hey, it's going really well.
So we got about 2 minutes left, and Dan, maybe I'll start with you on this. What are some myths out there about the people that you serve, whether it's teens, families, individuals? I'm sure there's some myths about these are the kind of people that we serve. People live on the edge, but there's some myths. What are some of those?
People made this mess, they deserve it,
Right.
and that's part of the reason why. And so then I can just turn and ignore the problem. And the reality is that it's your neighbor in need, and there's so many reasons why they've become homeless that we need to understand, and it's breaking issues of addiction, but those probably are rooted because they were abused and that they were raised in such a difficult environment. And so when you start to look at all the abuse and that has happened through all their lives, we're trying to break those cycles. If we can break what has happened, that's part of the reason for Impact Designs and for the youth shelter. When we can break those cycles, hopefully we can eliminate the next generation of those that are homeless.
And again, for people that can help, they can go to the website, they can get the information, Impact Design, they can get the information on the Samaritan Youth Services.
Or just come and visit.
And there's the website right there. You want to read it? Yes.
Yeah, rescuemidmichigan.org. We love to be able to take people and let them see firsthand how their dollars have been put to use to help change lives. I challenge anybody, if you're skeptical at all, come and see firsthand, see the eyes of people that are being helped.
There's your invite. It's a big time of year, the year of giving. Let's do it, folks. A lot of need out there, and you can really help. Thanksgiving, Christmas, here we go. But the need is all year long as well. Yes. Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work. And that's our show for tonight, but be sure to join us again for the follow-up on Tuesday, December 12th. What are the biggest issues facing school teachers and administrators? It's all about education on December 12th. In the meantime, support our pledge drive here on QTV over the next couple of weeks. Have a great night, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.